Can you all hear me? Good, good. It's so great to see so many faces here. I see some faces I know, some friendly faces. Give yourself a round of applause. I like to give myself a round of applause too, a little acknowledgement. I want to thank you all so much for being here and for coming to this session. We are talking State of the Union, historical Black colleges, TCUs, HSIs, and we're really just going to have a really wonderful conversation diving into our thought process, the culture of things, what it is that we can do better, et cetera, et cetera. And so with that, I want to welcome the panel onto the stage. Let's start with, and actually we can just come up together. Yeah. And then we'll do introductions. Give them a round of applause. So before I throw it over to them, my name is Lindawi Davis. I work here at Google. I've been here since 2018, started as a contractor, shifted over to full-time. I say that's important because for all of you that are looking for opportunities, never forget there is no such thing as a straight path. And if you need to take a freelance job, take that freelance job. If you need to take a contract role, take that contract role. You never really know what can happen, and there is no wrong way when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in this life. I just want to throw that out there for you. And so I've been here for quite some time, working in the inclusion space, belonging, DEI, et cetera, but I've been in corporate America for about 27 years, something like that, working across various industries, tech, media, marketing, and a few other things. Fun fact about me, I used to be a fraud investigator in another life, so, yeah. Thank you. So first up, I want to thank our virtual audience as well that is in attendance. We have not forgotten about you all. In fact, if you need closed captioning, that option is available on your screen. And you should have the option, I believe, to ask questions as well. And if not, I'm sure somebody in this amazing audience will be asking the questions that you all virtually are in need of. And so with that, I want to start off with our wonderful panel today. First up, Daryl, introduce yourself.
Are we kicking? Okay. Daryl Butler. Once we get to know each other, it'll be DB. I'm a Morehouse graduate, and I saw somebody with a Morehouse sweatshirt on, so check for me later. I am a vice president here at Google, responsible for our first-party hardware, what we call platforms and devices. So that Pixel phone that you got as a gift, you can tell me thank you. I am not afraid to ask for the gifts and the flowers. I'm really fortunate to be part of this. This is actually near and dear to my heart. I consider this my second job besides what I do every day. And that is to make sure that I'm climbing as I'm lifting as I'm climbing.
Thank you, Daryl. Yvette.
Yvette Baez, she, her, Afro-Latina. I feel like this is a trip back home for me. I got my MBA at Clark Atlanta University many years ago. CAU in the house. I see somebody back there. Yeah. I have been at Google now 4.5 years. Time flies. I started during the pandemic, so it was a weird time to join the company. Nonetheless, I lead a sales team in New York City based out of our St. John's Terminal office, which is one of the most beautiful Google offices, I believe, in the world, if not the United States of America. Yeah. And basically, I'm a head of industry. I work in pharmaceuticals.
Thank you, Yvette. Jasenia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasenia Gutierrez, born and raised in LA. Any LA folks? Yeah. Woo! I'm a first-generation UC Berkeley graduate, class of 2023, so only, a year and a half ago? While at Berkeley, I was president of the Latino Business Student Association, was also part of MLT. Any MLTers? Hey. And now I work here at Google. I am a BDR for Google Cloud, and I'm also the ERG chair for Hola Atlanta.
Ooh. Rachel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Jackson. I am an Atlanta native. So is there anybody from Atlanta Any ATL shouties in here? Yes, I'm from Zone 6, to be exact. Yes, indeed. Some of your favorite rappers are from there as well. I'm sure you know. Future being number one, hands down. I also attended the illustrious Clark Atlanta University, where I studied business marketing and minored in psychology. I now sit in the Chelsea Market office in New York as an artist and live stream partnerships manager. So I have the pleasure of working with everybody's favorite rapper, R&B artist, major label, independent labels, and just making sure that they have their best intended result on YouTube. I also advocate wholeheartedly for Black joy and expression on YouTube. So just making sure that all art forms and all voices from marginalized communities do well.
Thank you so much. Dr.
Hello, Google. Welcome. I am coming from South Carolina. Anybody from South Carolina here? All righty. And I am a proud product of Hampton University, Hampton, Virginia. Any Hamptonians in here? Go Pirates. Undergrad and grad in chemistry. Doctorate, University of South Carolina. Gamecocks? Anybody? Come on, somebody. All right. Gamecocks, there we go. I have been in higher education for about 30 years, so that means I started when I was 10 or 5 or something like that, yeah. There we go. But my passion and my purpose is to influence and to empower students, faculty, community, stakeholders to do their best and to be their best. So it's just good to be here with you all today.
Thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. So as I said, our panel today, we're just going to be exploring how we all together can continue to kind of build resources, build network, build community. So first up, we want to talk about student navigation and support, okay? Daryl, I'm going to start with you with this question. What specific support systems are most effective in helping either first-generation students or just students who are getting into school, trying to navigate these unique challenges in the communities that they're in?
That's a good question, and I think it starts with understanding that there's more than one process. Mm-hmm. There's something that's formal, and then there's the informal. Those of us that know this jargon, the hustle, and the network that comes with the hustle. There are ways to actually navigate that are in your best interest that mean following protocols that are dictated. But it's just as important to understand who can influence the decisions that you need to make in order for you to get the outcome that you need to get. That's not gonna be in a document. That's not gonna be on some file. That's gonna be based on who you know, the relationships that you foster, and asking the right questions of the right folks at the right times.
Absolutely.
Right? I can give you perfect examples. Trying to get into a class that was already full, going through the normal process, I probably would have just gotten a hard no and I would have had to go somewhere else. But I had a good relationship with the actual professor. And I went directly to him. I'm like, this is a must-have. I have to have these credits for this time frame. Can you pull some strings and make something happen? Formal process, informal process. And then making sure that when you're thinking about building your network, as you navigate, that your network has a purpose. Mm-hmm. It's not about just aggregating names and faces and titles. It's because you are actually fostering a relationship that is actually going to be of service to yourself and even to the folks that are part of your network. So I'll oftentimes look at it that way, and I do that, today.
Appreciate that, Daryl. Relationships, absolutely. Building those relationships that you probably couldn't have imagined that you would have. You all are here today, you're in this audience. There's someone sitting right beside you probably could have a relationship with organically, so don't forget about that. Jacinia, I want to throw this same question over to you because you just got out of school. So what type of networks and support and resources were useful for you?
Yeah, I think for me, as I think about support systems, that mainly came from mentorship and community. I attribute most of my career success to the Latino Business Student Association and MLT. And the reason why I say that was because recruiters would come to us. They were looking for us, wanting us to, see who was interested in their companies and roles. And that's actually how I got my internship at EY and LinkedIn, by networking with the recruiters and taking advantage of that opportunity. Another aspect was networking with alumni And for me, that was LBSA alumni, the Latino Business Student Association. Why? Because there's already a connection there. So that definitely makes it a little easier, and it made it easier for me to find mentors because mentorship is super, super important. So I encourage you all to go back to your campuses, look at organizations that are present, find something of your interest, and get involved.
Is that true for all of you as well? When you were in school, organizations that were super helpful for you all?
Can I just add a
Yeah, go
different
ahead.
point of view? I just realized I have a daughter who's a junior in college. She's at Loyola, Maryland. And as a parent, it's really challenging to watch your children trying to navigate that. And for her, it was the organizations, but it was also finding her people. Like, she was really struggling in a Jesuit university that's predominantly white with, like, where do I belong? And intersectionality, all of a sudden she was like, am I Caribbean? Am I African American? Am I a Latina? And until she found not just the support system, but the people that had similar perspectives, that had similar lived experiences as her, was when I saw it shift. And all of a sudden as a parent, I was like, oh my, thank God. You know what I mean? Because her freshman year was a struggle.
Absolutely.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
What you just talked about was your daughter finding her sense of belonging. And so great institutions, specifically HBCUs, HSIs, that's what we're founded on. That's what we do so well with. And a part of that is helping the students or whomever determine who they are, what they want to major in, what they want to be after when they graduate, and networking is the key. Not only with alumni, which was great, but formal mentoring programs. Even with faculty, we have faculty mentoring programs. But I had to write this down. The Institute for, this is a formal mentoring program that we're actually bringing to our institution. The Institute for African American Mentoring in Computing Science. Does anyone have that? Anyone else other than that? Excellent mentoring opportunity. At one of my former institutions, we had a formal alumni mentoring initiative. It was a campus-wide initiative where every single one of our alumni was tasked to formally mentor a student, provide a apprenticeship opportunity, and then provide other opportunities for executive coaching. So when at institutions of higher education, we are tasked with retention, increasing our retention, making sure that we bring students back each semester and each year. But a huge part of that is the student experience and the students finding themselves and that sense of belonging. And so I think that's what is so great about our wonderful HBCUs.
I appreciate
Listening
that.
to everyone's responses is automatically just making me reflect on my experience at Clark Atlanta. And I remember after orientation, you get your schedule, you have your syllabi in hand, and you're walking to your first class, you're meeting people, you're seeing people in the cafe, you're just kind of automatically on defense, right? Just not. Like if you're newer or you're matriculating right now and it's like, yeah, I don't really know, I'm just trying to peep the scene. And when I think about what helped me find my people, as you mentioned, was just kind of clinging on to one of the mottos. We have two mottos at Clark Atlanta. And the most prominent one, in my opinion, is culture for service, meaning that mentally you have to put yourself in a position to ask, what can I do for my institution, rather than just walking in on defense with your hand out with an expectation, thinking it's supposed to just give you something. Yes, it is. You pay your hard-earned money and FAFSA coin to make it shake and for it to give you an education. But at the same time, when it comes down to the human aspect of it, you really have to be that community that you want to have. And once you approach opportunities to connect with others and network across, you'll notice that, those walls will kind of break down and you're not really being so judgmental or as hesitant to join clubs or just go up to someone and talk to them or to ask questions. And then like the gravitation for everyone to kind of stick and stay with one another throughout your experience at your college or university will become automatic, and it's a lot more fun.
Appreciate that. I want to add one more thing to that, which is in your careers, in your lives, the key about being open, it'll take you further than you ever could go, right? In fact, when it comes to career shifts and pivots, being open in your spirit, in your mind, and being able to kind of assess when it's time to make moves, that's what's going to carry you through, right? Wherever you are right now, whether you're in school, whether you're getting ready to graduate, whether you're wondering, oh no, where am I going to get a job, et cetera, et cetera. Being open and having that mindset and energy about yourself, now that's on the spiritual side, but for the most part, when you have that about you and you're assessing yourself, that self-awareness is going to take you a long way. Throwing it back over to you, Dr. Angela, I want to talk a little bit about better capturing and addressing people's why for why they even came to the school, right? What are some of the things that you think about or that you've seen in your 30-year career, right, across education for increasing that sense of purpose and helping students find what it is that they're trying to get to?
Some students don't have, it takes some students to and through college, and they still don't understand what their why is. They're still trying to find themselves. Our daughter is 20-something. Then you'll know my age. Anyway, she's 20-something years old. And I'm telling you, I can see it. I would never tell her this. But she's still trying to find herself. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. She's still trying to find what God wants her to be, mm-hmm. right? And so what we have done at a previous institution is in the admission letters, we have a career exploration link. And so that link students can take in high school, and it's actually a pre-career assessment. It actually gets high school students thinking about what they want to be, what their major should be, what they're interested in, what their passion is, and so on and so forth. What that has done for us is that it has decreased the change in majors. How many of you have changed your majors like one time? Raise your hand. Okay, thanks for being honest. Mm-hmm. How many of you have changed your majors twice? Thanks for being honest. That's mm-hmm. a lot. Here we go. How many of you have changed your majors more than 2 times? Thank you for being honest. Mm-hmm. That's a huge financial strain, either out of pocket or financial aid or so on and so forth. And so I think for us, mentors, networking, and institutions of higher learning can really help students while they're in middle school, while they're in elementary school, definitely high school, to provide opportunities and options for them to determine who they are and what their why should be. But there's so many of our of your generation, not y'all sitting in here, but others who are not in here, who are trying to still figure out what they want to do, what they want to be, how they can be impactful, how they can make a difference in this world. That's disheartening to me because I am an educator, and here I have a child. So I'm being transparent to you all. And here I have a child who's trying to figure that out. Mm-hmm. But again, what I have found, in my institution is that we went back to K through 12 to try to help.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Daryl.
Yeah, I'd urge you to write down 4 words, and this is something I did with my kids. They've since graduated from Howard University, and when they finished high school, I gave them these 4 words: passion, talent, skill, and experience. Those are 4 things that can be governing tenets through college and into your life as a grown-up. I didn't learn those things until much later in life. And the idea is to find balance across those 4 tenets, right? You will explore your passions. You will cultivate your talents. You will expand your skills. And you will catalog your experiences, all of which will work to help get you into a centered space when it comes to what you're really here to do. Because the idea, when you take that inventory across those 4 things, you will start to see where things line up and where they don't. Right? Where do things actually modulate for harmony and when they're at discord? Mm-hmm. And what that helps with is, emphasize the word, helps with getting you narrowed in to those things that actually create equilibrium across those 4 things: passion, talent, skill, experience.
I hope everybody wrote that down, because it's in my mind. Yvette, I want to throw the next talking point over to you, thinking about connecting resources, creating those stronger pathways for students so that they better understand for themselves how they can build those career pathways. I want to ask you about that. Like, what are you thinking? What have you thought about just education systems in general, but specifically for these types of institutions? Where is the connection point for students?
I mean, I think one of the things that has gone by the wayside is interpersonal relationships. Like, I mean, one-to-one. I met a president of Procter & Gamble who said that she was on a flight. She's one of the most senior-ranking women in all of Procter & Gamble globally, and she was on a flight, and she was wearing Colgate University, she was wearing a sweatshirt from her alma mater, and this young woman, maybe 23 years old, recent college graduate, walked up to her and said, "Hi, my name is Sabrina. It's very nice to meet you." And she said, "I also graduated from Colgate," and they sparked up a conversation on this airplane. And she said she was so taken aback that a person of that age had the wherewithal and the gravitas to actually approach her one-on-one. And she subsequently hired this woman into their associate program, and she's had, a very long career at P&G, which is one of the most difficult companies to actually be recruited into, by the way. So I think, generationally speaking, we didn't have, I'll speak for myself, my lived experience is, I was growing up and going to college at a time where we got one of the first computer labs ever at UMass Amherst campus in the early 90s. And now you guys expect that there's a computing lab everywhere you go and you get free Wi-Fi. None of those things were in place. So it was really, really important that we knew how to say, "Hi, Daryl, it's nice to meet you. I know you work at Google. I really want to work at Google. I'm 15 years old. What can I do? What high school programs do you have?" Like these kinds of things are really valuable, and it will make you stand out, primarily because a lot of your peer set won't do it. So remember that at the end of the day, relationships are built on interpersonal communication and exchanges, and technology is never going to replace that.
At all. So let me add this thing for you all as well. If you are someone who doesn't approach strangers, right, in whatever field that you're interested in, I want you to work up enough courage to start doing that for yourselves. One of the things that I want to offer you is that when you start working, you have to understand what your level of courage is, right? Because as adversity and challenges come, it will allow you to understand how you're going to approach said challenge or adversity, all right? So maybe that first thing is, how can I approach someone that I've never met before? I do it all the time. I just roll up on people, "Hey girl, how you doing? Look at my media kit, it's good." Try doing that for yourself. Start practicing and understanding what that is for you, so that you can build that confidence for yourself. Shifting back over here, I'm going to start with Rachel. What about companies? What are we missing? What can we be better at illuminating in terms of gaps for programming and developing professionals?
I think it's just that. I believe that there is a sore need for professional development because there's been a widening generational gap in talent that we've seen that kind of lends to attrition, or when people of a certain age or generation come to a company, they can't stick and stay because they don't feel like they belong. They feel too pressured. They feel like their boss or supervisor is a hater. They feel that there isn't like a team work or team value there. And it's only just because I'd say there's a lack of communication.
That's right.
If I feel that I have someone on my team that is 22 years old. I'm 35, by the way. Just turned that in December. Thank you. Yeah, clap for me. Good skin routine, right? Yeah. So if I'm 35 and I have a new entrant on my team that is 22, and I don't like the way that they email, or if I don't like the way that they're not as timely, I'm going to shift my communication to their understanding. And that's what communication is. You're not really checking off any boxes or getting anywhere far when your communication is not meeting the recipient. So I feel that there, in a lot of these teamwork environments, or when there's leadership that has a gap where they're just used to expecting something, or they're just used to like a fully baked cake showing up at their door, that's just not the times that we're living in. Like, just communicate. Let's really level with our newer workforce entrants, talk to them about what our needs are, talk to them about what drives them, figure out their passions. And I know there's a lot of conversation, especially on TikTok, because I'll be over there too. There's a lot of conversation about how corporate environments and work is not your family. It's not, they're not your friends. That might be true, but at the same time, like I said before, be the person that you want to have. If you want a certain experience, you have to come with that type of energy. No, I'm not gonna expect to be able to communicate with my boss the same way I do my boyfriend or my homegirl, because that's just inappropriate. There is a line between professionalism and too much casual nature, but as you grow and as you move along in your career, you'll find that. But at the same time, you just have to commit to being consistent and putting your best foot forward. You know, at church we say, give God your best. You know, you don't just come any type of way. But then on the other side of the coin, it's come as you are.
That's right.
So finding balance in who you are and knowing who you are, whose you are, and what you came to do, you'll never fail. And then another thing I want to say to a point that was made before you asked me this question, when it comes down to preparedness and putting yourself out there, just take it back to the bottom of the map. Let's start with the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
That's right.
A lot of times, insecurity in anything that you want to do, especially when you have to assert yourself to someone, whether it be to have a conversation or at work because you want to ask a question or you want to understand navigation, insecurity exists through lack of preparedness often. So when you go home or in your private time, take the time to invest in yourself. Decompress. Mental health is key and it matters, but you also need a game plan at all costs. So just make sure that while you're figuring out your mix, that you're practicing and that you're preparing yourself properly so you can get any win that you want.
Absolutely.
Yes, proper preparation prevents poor performance.
You got it out. That's a great gem. That's a great gem. I mean, landing that even in a stronger sense as well is that there is no opportunity without preparation. Exactly what she just said. So if, for example, if I'm trying to, I don't know, work with Oprah, okay? That was my dream 30-something years ago. I wouldn't be able to be close to that if I didn't have the media kit, if I didn't do a lot of the free work I did years ago, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same thing for each one of you, whatever you're trying to do. Take those opportunities as they come, but make sure the preparation is there. When somebody's asking you for your business card, you don't need to fumble around with paper. Pull that thing up on your phone, okay? Hi, hello, LinkedIn, what have you. Just be ready for that opportunity when it comes.
Can I tell a story?
Yes. Go ahead.
60-second story.
60 seconds, go ahead.
I've been at this institution only for about 6 months in South Carolina. Came from as provost of Albany State University. Go Rams. The first day that I was at work, a young lady who's in this office, Ashley, came in my office. I was there for maybe an hour, and she came in with paper, probably about 30 things. Dr. Peters, I'm Ashley, I'm a computer science student. These are the things that we need. These are the things that we want. These are the things that we don't have. How can you help? I was like, oh my God. Thank you, Ashley. Let's give her a round of applause. Talk about confidence. So when you are here, you're here for 3 days. So what are you going to do? And when you go up to folks to meet folks, nobody wants to be around a Debbie Downer. If fake it till you make it with your confidence, do whatever you have to do to boost your confidence. And make sure that you always look at your mental health. Someone mentioned mental health. When we talk about the pivots, I don't know if you're going to mention that again. When we talk about pivots, that itself can make you anxious. When you have to redo or rethink or reflect or, God, what am I going to do about this? This doesn't work out. This job doesn't work out. So make sure that you take care of yourself, but boost your confidence. And when you go to meet your next employer at Google, make sure that you have the firm handshake. Make sure that you have the eye contact. And just be as confident as you can, as Ashley was when she came bombarding in my office, and she did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Justini, I want to throw this over to you. When you're thinking about students, because you're fresh out, right? You have a stronger lens at this point because you're closer to the environment. What strategies can students employ at this time to explore those different niches that they may be interested in? Are there things that you explored that you thought were useful? One or two things to share with the audience.
Yeah, this is going to sound super cliche, but your world is your oyster. And it is up to you to take control of that and make those changes. And talking about things that make you scared or uncomfortable, growth comes with that. So another thing that I want to point out is that oftentimes we feel restricted because we think of our major, oh, I'm a computer science, I can't apply to that internship because, it's not in that category. Well, make it your own. If you're interested in it, if you're passionate about it, make it your own. I came into college wanting to do business, potentially marketing, but I wasn't going to limit myself to that. So I explored finance at EY, and I explored sales at LinkedIn by accident because I didn't know I had applied to a sales internship. But now look at me, I'm in sales, and I've learned that this is an area that I am passionate about and I like. So overall, just go out there, explore, and have fun with it.
I appreciate that. Daryl, same question to you.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of a look into my past. I came out of undergrad with 2 degrees, finance and marketing. I had no idea what I wanted to do, real talk. I went the finance route. So I started my career debits and credits, accounting, closing the books quarterly, 10Q, 10K type of stuff. About 6 years in, I decided, nah. And I made a transition to sales. I went into my director of finance's office on a Monday morning and said, I want to be a salesperson. And it was dead silence. He looked at me, cocked his head like, I don't understand. I could see him shorting out. But I made a decision to make a move. 6 years after that, did good at sales. President's councils, president's clubs, all that kind of stuff. Moved from direct sales all the way to corporate account management. 6 years into that, nah, it's not it. And this is where those 4 words really started to galvanize for me: passion, talent, skill, experience. And I ended up taking a pay cut so that I can start in marketing, which was something that I had explored as an undergrad 14 years ago. And the trajectory of my career, once I figured out how to put those 4 things together, has been astronomical. Far more than I could have even imagined. Where I sit today, what I do today for the company I do it for, where I am examining and exploring all those things on a regular basis. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is where you start and where you finish can't be predetermined. Maybe for some, if you're on a track to be a physician or an attorney, yeah, there's a predetermined track you have to follow. But for the rest of us, in the same case, don't let where you start determine what your finish point is. If that were the case, I probably wouldn't be sitting here even having this conversation right now. I might be somewhere in a dungeon with a pencil holder and still doing debits and credits. No shade, no shade. If you're an accountant, we love you. But my point is, jokes aside, where you start and where you finish are 2 different things. And part of the growth is the exploration. Part of the growth is actually trying some things until you figure out what's my sweet spot. Where am I actually getting the most joy? Where am I making the most contribution? Where do I feel whole, right? Up to and including where am I seen for who I am? All of that stuff starts to matter, and it starts to come into focus a little bit at a time, over time. So you got to give yourself some grace, because I know the pace that we're on today is asking and expecting of us to move with so much haste, so that we're making fast decisions because of macroeconomic conditions, of the competitive nature that we're faced with, global competition, and it's all real. But what you have to do is you got to run your own race. You ain't running at a 10 if you can only run at a 7. But run your 7 the best 7 you can. Let somebody else try to run at a 10 and pull a hammy, right? It's more space for you, right? So just take the time to really do the inventory and make your decisions so that they're calculated. But look at the world around you and make decisions about where you best fit based on the thing that matters most to you. And you, again, only you will decide that.
Thank you, Daryl. This is going to shift us into our last question, and I'm going to run down the line 30 seconds apiece. But I do want to add one more thing to that, Daryl, which is when you see people in whatever environment you end up getting into as far as work, when you see them on that hamster wheel and they're just running, you walk right past them and give them a prayer, okay? You don't pull your hamster wheel out and start running too. No, you don't do that. You need to figure out what your race is, as Daryl just said. Yvette, I want to throw it over to you for this last question as a wrap up, and then I'll walk down the line here. What do you want people, professionals, students to understand about embracing their journey as they go from school into professional spaces?
I think Jasenia might have alluded to this a little bit, which is that I think that the perception is reality when it comes up to how we show up in corporate America. And the reality is that a lot of times they're expecting us not to be as prepared. And that's just, we didn't make the rules, but this is the game that we're playing. We're playing the infinite game of always playing catch up. So it's more important for those of us who are coming from underrepresented communities to make sure that we understand that we have to be more prepared. We have to be prepared to do the thing that no one else can do. We have to make sure that inventory also means auditing your skill set and being a consummate learner and adding more skills because the world is too fast a pace. Our parents being at a job for 50 years, that's not happening anymore. So if we can't keep pace with technology, with how business is evolving, you will find that you might have stayed in a job a little too long, right? And you outgrew it or it outgrew you. So yes, we have to work harder. Yes, we have to be more prepared. And preparation means always being open to what's next and what more can I do.
Thank you, Yvette. Jasenia, last thought.
I feel like overall, you just have to stay curious. No matter what, you have to ask questions. You have to connect with those folks, even if they are VP of I don't know what. So at the end of the day, as my manager once told me, we all put our pants on the same way every morning. So just go out there, ask questions, stay curious, and you'll find your path.
Appreciate it. Rachel, 30 seconds.
A quote comes to mind.
Come on.
Most people do what is required. Successful people do more. Don't overthink preparation and preparedness the way that we're talking about. When you think about what being prepared means for you, it's going to be unique to you. So that is an internal monologue that only you can have with yourself, okay? Just make sure that when you figure out exactly what that is, lock in on your principle and core values. I'm gonna be the person that always has a firm handshake, makes eye contact, follows up on email. Even if I don't get an email back quarterly, I'm still gonna email them and let them know what I'm doing. I'm gonna be the person that's relentlessly open, honest. I'm gonna be the best dressed. Whatever it is, lock in on those core values and make sure that as you pivot, those are the things that remain the same. Because again, that's what's gonna help you propel a career. And then also I'll say research is also key. We'll be talking a lot more about job preparedness later in this week, so we'll get into that later, but that's what I'll leave you all with.
Thank you, Rachel. Close this out.
My advice, get out of your comfort zone and take those calculated risks.
Thank you so much. Round of applause. So we are going to open it up for audience questions. I think they're playing Toss the Mic. Is that right? Yes. Our folks in the background, they have the yellow sweatshirts on. They're just tossing the microphone over to whoever's ready. Gentleman here.
I know, right?
Go ahead.
Hello, my name
Hi.
is Angel Harris.
Hi,
I'm
Angel.
a neuroscience major at Georgia State University. And my question is, I know we talked about setbacks and like how to bounce back from those, but my question was, how do you find motivation in bouncing back from those setbacks?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I'll take it. I would say that motivation comes and goes, but determination doesn't. So you have to be focused on your goal and take actionable steps to get there, and ask for help also along the way.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Rachel.
I'll add to that because that was amazing. Understanding that acceptance is part of your journey along the way every single day. Understanding and accepting that setbacks and downfalls and rainy days are going to happen will help you be a little more prepared. But even if you get rained on, you got to dance in the rain sometimes, you know? So just accepting the fact that on the journey, it will not always be sunshine because then it'll be a desert, right? Then it'll be a hot climate. But knowing that there's a balance in the weather and that the seasons will change will just help you prepare mentally to push forward through anything that you come against.
How y'all doing? I just want to say thank y'all. I love the advice that y'all gave. My name is Kenyon Evans. I go to Bowie State, accounting major, want to go into private equity. But I just have a question. How do y'all deal with burnout, and what are some strategies that you could give to us as just, people that's in corporate or just in college that's just facing severe burnout?
Go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot. Burnout is real. Let's not dance around the fact that we've just started to get and become more aware of, our well-being. I often talk to my team and even talk to myself a lot about remaining centered, right? Part of the way that you can remain centered is making sure you got great gravity and great root systems, right? And some of that is just listening to that still small voice that is saying, hold on a minute, I'm tired, I'm not thinking straight, I don't have the gift of clarity, right? And some of us have had that. We've walked into the office or walked into class and it's just not clicking, right? You got to pay attention to those things and give yourself license. I played hoops, so we used to talk about sometimes you got to pull your jersey, right? I'm just tired. I need to sit down for a minute. And that should be okay. Right? There is much more that you can do when you are at 100% than when you are at 70%. So even if you have to drop down to 50, the chance that you can come back to 100 a lot greater and a lot better is a lot higher because you've taken that minute, right? And I'm going to use sports analogies because they're clear to me. No one plays 48 minutes a game, full stop, right? Even the best of have to take a breather. Right? And after that breather, what do they come back and do? They drop a 40 piece on you, right? Or whatever the case may be, because they've come back and they've been in a better place than if they were to try to play the entire game. Nothing different when we think about moving through life's experiences, our day-to-days. Sometimes you just got to take a break, right? And that break could be mental, where you can just shut it down for a minute, or sometimes it could just be physical, right? Because your body is going to react based on what your mind tells it to do, and things start to shut down. And you can get in front of that by simply just giving yourself grace and license to say, all right, not today. We'll come back and we'll try this again tomorrow, or just give me an hour. Let me go clear my mind, and let's talk about it in an hour, or let's do that thing in an hour from now or 2 hours from now. Either way, what you do have to do is control that voice that's telling you when it's happening, and not wait till it starts to affect you in an adverse way, because now it's harder to recover. It's harder to get that center back. So just taking the time to be as proactive about managing it as possible, I think.
Thank you, Daryl.
And can I add something?
Yes, go
Try
ahead.
do your best to find your happy place. And my husband and I ask ourselves, what brings you joy? What brings you joy? And then go there.
Excellent advice. Next question. Right here. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Thane Douglas. I'm a rising junior
All right.
studying at Howard University. My major is computer science, and I'm also a Spanish minor. I currently serve as the vice president for the Google Developers Group on campus, and I'm also the editor-in-chief for the undergraduate research journal.
Okay.
My question is really geared for Ms. Jackson and Mr. Butler. It's mainly about personal branding and storytelling. What are like 3 pieces of advice you would give to just student leaders wanting to share more about their passions, talents, skills, and experiences, as well as sharing the stories on the communities we lead and the projects and initiatives we've kind of taken charge of.
Great question.
Okay. I'll start, and I work in content, so I literally have to figure this out for artists and labels every day. So I love this question. So I'll start with personal branding. As you matriculate, you're gonna go through a lot of different personal changes, and you wanna make sure that wherever you represent yourself online, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, wherever it is, just know and remember that that thing that you're leaving on social media is your digital footprint. It's your representative of you when you're not in the room. So just making sure that you're keeping your content in a place where you have that in mind, you'll never go wrong, because I want to make sure that if I'm you and I want to present myself casually for a speaking engagement or for another job, I want to make sure that my whatever I share to represent me while I'm not in the room is as accurate and not confusing as possible, because it's a way for people to judge you, just being real. And then when it comes down to sharing your organizational stories, just make sure you're developing or work with your teams to develop what your brand voice is. Make sure that all the things and the key takeaways that you want people to remember about the work that you do is shareable and it resonates well. And then also, we love real talk. We love to hear exactly from the communities that you're working with. So if you have any feedback that you can share, just get really creative with the way that you want to share it, not just like, let me put a phone in your face and tell me, did you like this event? Really play with infographics, play with different facts, just really plan out your content week to week. And then from there, decide what your goals are in terms of interaction and visibility, and then work backwards from there. But I'll definitely sidebar with you if you want to know more about that. I can help you.
Thank you, Rachel. Go ahead, Al.
Really sorry. I hate to do this plug, but we're actually, thanks to Larry, we'll have this session. It's called Keep Climbing. I'll be moderating that session. It's on personal branding, especially for students. And I have Claudia from Google will be joining me. So everybody, if you're interested in what he just asked about, come to Keep Climbing.
Thank you, Al. And with that, I think we are at time. Oh, no, one more. Go ahead.
Okay. So beautiful. Okay. Hi, my name is Brooke Demps. I am a recent graduate. Oh, okay. Hi. My name is Brooke Demps. I'm a recent graduate from Florida A&M, major in computer information systems, focus in cybersecurity. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So every time I come to these, this is my third time coming, and I just get so inspired. And one of the things that y'all talked about, which resonated with me, was taking calculated risk. So my question is, how do you take a calculated risk without it jeopardizing your future? And okay, I'm gonna slide in another question because I'm sure this can be answered. Should I go where my plans take me or where the opportunities take me?
I actually want to take that one,
Oh, y'all
because that is a great question.
I'll take calculated risk. I think that the way that you frame something is incredibly important. Somebody talked earlier about a setback. A setback is only a setback if you frame it as a setback.
That's right.
Every setback is an opportunity for learning, just like a calculated risk is an opportunity for growth. The question to ask yourself is, what am I intending to get out of this? And make sure, if nothing else, you're really clear about what is the expectation you have of yourself in taking the risk, and what agreement are you going to make yourself about what you expect to get at the end of it, right? Because if you're not putting yourself at the center of that calculated risk and making it about someone else, it's really just not worth it. I am going to take a chance and pivot to a new career, as Daryl said. Well, what's in it for me is I get a new skill set. I get to, explore a different area. Make sure that the calculated risk has an inherent benefit to you, and make sure that you're really clear about what you intend to get out of it. No risk, to me, nothing is a risk if there's an inherent opportunity for you to learn and to benefit from it.
Thank you, Yvette. I will close out with one last thought on there. There's no such thing, I said it at the top of the hour, there is no such thing as a wrong path. If you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, you will still end up where you're trying to get to. And I only know that because several times in my life, first of all, I'm the queen of leaps of faith, right? I take a lot of leaps of faith in my life, oftentimes with no support. But I will tell you this, I was trying to get into, so NYU was my dream school when I was younger, when I was a kid. I was living on the West Coast, not originally from the West Coast, but was living on the West Coast. I couldn't see a way, so I ended up going to a PWI, getting 2 degrees from them, ended up applying to get into their master's program, right, for communication and journalism at that time. They didn't let me in, even though I had 2 degrees from them, great GPA. What I understood in that moment is that I should have never even applied. I should have applied at my school that I knew I was supposed to be at, which was NYU. I ended up getting into a program that took less than 100 people, okay? And I did whatever I had to do to get there. I left the West Coast with 3 bags, my house, my car, my clothes, everything I had worked for, and I was a full-on adult. So when I say that there is a way to get from point A to point B and to really be prepared to do so, you can do it. You have to understand where you are, what you're willing to do, keeping your courage, keeping your integrity intact, but just remembering you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing to get to where you need to be. Thank you all. Give our panel a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you.